Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday on TLDChat. My name is Brent Schlenker, and I'll be your host, as I have not been for a while. And one of the things I forgot to mention yesterday, after being gone for the last few days, was to thank our good friend Sam Rogers for hanging out and helping me do some co-hosting and some hosting efforts, and Kara jumping in as well and helping out. Thank you, everybody who pitched in while I was gone. Really, really, really appreciate that. We've got a great guest for you all today. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties on his end, but I just wanted to jump in and get the morning chat started while Luis is chatting with him and working on that. So I hope everybody can hear me, and that the tech issues aren't coming out of the Crowdcast side. I don't think. Everything seems to be working on my end. If everybody could just maybe give me a shout out. I can hear and see you, Brent. Yes, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. All right, and Luis is in here too. Outstanding. So we've got some fun for you today. We've got a great guest, but we also have Anthony Altieri, who's going to be joining us and talking to us a little bit about the Harvey storm that is blasting its way through the Houston area of the U.S. So those of you who are in Europe, you may be following this on the news and watching, but that wicked old nasty storm came through and is causing a little bit of water issues down south. So this is an important time for us to give those public service announcements and have Anthony, who is, for those of you who do not know, works for the American Red Cross. And so he's going to share some information with us. And we were going to wait till the halfway mark, but while Keith gets his microphone and maybe switching over to a new computer, while he gets that up and running, Anthony, maybe I can get you to jump in. We'll have you in at the halfway point as well, but maybe you can just give a little teaser of something you'd like to share with us about what's going on. So I'll shoot you an invite really fast, and while Anthony and Keith are working on jumping in on the video, I will. Oh, Keith is here already. Fantastic, as always. Anthony is always at the ready, as a good American Red Cross employee should be, always ready at a moment's notice to come out and pitch in. What's happening, Anthony? I haven't seen you in a while.
A lot of stuff.
You're a little busy right now, I take it.
So I will address the cuddly in the room.
Ah, yes.
She's there outside. So for those of you who do not know, I did get a new member of the family. I have a 17-week, actually I think she might be 18 weeks now, golden retriever. She was born March 3rd. We named her Dee Dee after Harley Quinn's granddaughters.
Ah, excellent.
She and Sandy are not getting along at
Uh-oh.
all. She loves Sandy. She thinks Sandy's the best thing since sliced bread. Sandy could just not have anything less to do with her.
Oh.
Which is somewhat to be expected. I mean, Sandy.
It's her territory.
Yeah, I mean, this is her house. So this is her house. She allows me to share it with her.
As a good dog should.
Yeah, basically. So I will get that. So just because I know I'm going to get inundated, so let's just get that out of the way. My other daughter, Rebecca, my third favorite, by the way.
Oh.
She's out. She's actually out back with them, so I could hop on this because Dee Dee doesn't quite understand house training yet. So
that's that. So that's the puppy roundup.
So, and in other news, and in theory, I've got a compatriot who will be joining us at the half hour. So hopefully, if we have some questions, she'll be able to help us with that. But for those of you who've been watching the news, it's almost unavoidable at this point. You are aware that we had Hurricane Harvey hit the shores of Texas. It was a Category 4 hurricane when it hit the shores. It has since been dropped down. I think it's now technically a tropical depression, as it is expected to go back out to the Gulf and come back. It's supposed to go out to the Gulf, pick up more rain, pick up more energy, pick up more water, and come back towards Houston and southeast Texas again.
Yikes.
And we, this is an unprecedented storm, especially for Houston. Well, for all of southeast Texas, we talk about Houston because Houston it's the fourth largest city. It is the city that also has the 4 media outlets, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox all have outlets there, so they all have people on the ground.
Yep.
So you see that most, but it is affecting all of southeast Texas between Houston and the coast. It's all getting hammered. Between the rains, the wind, the initial wind, the rain, everything is coming through. And of course, then the storm heads north. It rains. The water comes downriver on top of the water that's already there. Gotcha. So it is definitely a bad situation. We've had a huge amount of volunteers sign up and register, which is fantastic. We're always happy to see that. We always welcome volunteers. But we do have some special needs, and I'm kind of hoping to prevail upon our crew here. Because we do have, as you would imagine, we're a very mobile force, and we have teams that go out that handle the cell phones, handle the networking, handle the computers, the end user support. Everything we do is on computer or tablet now.
Yeah.
So we are looking for folks who are technically minded, technically oriented, who would be interested in volunteering to go down to Texas. I'm hearing something about Louisiana now as well. Not sure exactly what that's about. To go down and help with folks. I've done this a couple of times. It's a very rewarding experience. There was actually a tweet from J.D. Dillon this morning. He tweeted an article about when is work meaningful, which is an excellent article. You should definitely check it out. I can tell you this is meaningful. I can tell you that working in this situation, you are supporting a lot of people who support a whole lot more people and provide the respite and the care that is desperately needed there. So it is a fantastic opportunity, and I can guarantee you will feel great when you're done. There are a couple of questions here. Lisa, generally it's a 3-week rotation, 2 to 3 weeks. It can be longer. I mean, if you can come down longer, they'll take you. So it is, a longer, it's not a weekend. It's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. What I would also suggest, because I've been talking to some people who are concerned, well, will my boss let me go? The first thing I'm going to say is ask. The other is a lot of major corporations have volunteer service programs and do support programs like this. So if you're interested, talk to your boss and see what they can work out.
So what would they fly into or whatnot? You know what I mean? Like, would they? Honestly, get trucks and things there.
My guess, and it is a guess, is you would fly into Dallas, Fort Worth, and drive. Because Houston, as far as I know, Houston's still closed.
Okay.
There may be some other airports. I mean, I'm assuming Dallas, Fort Worth.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 airports in that area, so it's probably one of them. I'm not sure. And the working conditions, the way I describe it is, if you remember the TV show MASH, imagine if MASH had an IT department.
So what you're saying is you're looking for people who can come in and help keep the infrastructure up and running during all of this. It's not going out and rescuing people in flat bottom boats and stuff like that. We need some technical know-how and some technical prowess to get in there and to help keep the connections up and running.
Yeah, exactly. And also just real quick, I see a couple of things in the chat. I'm not getting any echo from Bren, so the echo might actually be coming from me.
Yeah, it sounds like every time I talk, I turned mine down a little bit. I think every time I talk, it sounds like your mic is picking up my your speaker.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. Oh, and in fact, I think. Oh, I think I'm getting a guilt email. Anthony, when are you going? Anthony, when are you going to be here?
Yeah, when are you going?
Well, unfortunately, I just got Dee Dee, and that was not expected. That was something that happened over the weekend. So I was expecting to go, but now this came in. It was a quasi-rescue situation.
Okay.
It wasn't a rescue. It wasn't a rescue in the normal sense. It was more of she was at a pet store and I could not leave her there situation.
That's a rescue.
Yeah. So my situation's changed, so we're working that out.
Okay.
For right now, I will throw this in here. If you are interested, you can email me and I will put you in touch with the proper authorities.
So I've got this. So everybody go ahead if you're interested. There's also I'll just throw this up while we're talking about it. So you can, if you hit up redcross.org, they've got very first page. There's some donation stuff you guys can hit up and help out there financially if you can't go and be a physical presence there helping out the Red Cross. There's some videos there. If you're looking for a place to donate, this is a great place to do it. And we appreciate Anthony jumping in and filling us in on what's going on while we're getting through some technical issues with today's guest, which is good. But
And one other thing I'll throw out there, and I'll take off the Red Cross hat for this one. Look, at the end of the day, there are a lot of great people who are going to be boots on the ground throughout most of Texas. And they're going to come from, look, I'm biased in support of the American Red Cross, obviously. There's going to be a lot of other fantastic organizations that are going to be there as well. The Southern Baptists, I'm sure, will be there. The Salvation Army, I'm sure, will be there.
Yeah.
An uncountable number of church groups will either send supplies through any number of other organizations. If you're not comfortable supporting any one of them, that's fine. I'm not going to, I would never browbeat anybody over that. But there are a lot of other organizations that you can support to help out, and it's absolutely needed. Joe Ganchi just mentioned Bill Brandon has been soliciting through Catholic Charities. I've donated through him. They're very active.
Yeah.
Joe, maybe you can share a link or something there. But
yeah, Bill Brandon is a great source for connecting with Catholic Charities for sure. So if anybody doesn't know Bill, he's with the eLearning Guild, who handles a lot of their editing and publishing work. Yeah, you can stay in touch with him on Twitter. He's pretty active. And if you want to get connected through Catholic Charities, he is a great connection there as well. But you're right. I mean, after this kind of stuff happens, in the U.S., there's always a fantastic outpouring of help and many, many, many groups coming together to do what they can to help those people that were so impacted by the hurricane and the storms and the flooding and all of that. So, anyways, thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you jumping in.
One last thought, real quick, because I get an email from someone, Lisa. Thank you. Even if you can't go right now, we're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
So if you can't go right now, but maybe you can go in a couple of weeks, definitely let me know if you're interested. And like I said, we'll make some connections for you.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. I'd love to kind of hear more about how that whole thing works. So if somebody from our community does go, I would love to hear about the process, right? I mean, is there, okay, I'll go there. Is there any sort of onboarding training that happens, right? You know, when you decide to volunteer, does somebody spin you up? Do you just get connected with somebody? Do you just get, how does all that stuff work? But we don't have to talk about that now, but I'd just be curious how to do it, because it looks like we have our guest in the house already today, and I'm assuming he can hear me and we're good to go. So Anthony, let me just kick you out here briefly, and if you're still in and still want to jump on and talk some more about it, like at the halfway mark, well, we're getting close there, so maybe a little bit closer, maybe we can do a little wrap up or something. Do you know, first of all, Anthony, is your colleague going to be able to join you today to talk a little bit more about the details of it, or no?
I haven't heard from her, and I'm just now looking through the attendees to see. I do not see her listed.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, if she jumps in, just let me know. Ping us in the chat, and we'll squeeze in some time. All right.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks, Anthony, and everybody. Be mindful of all of what is happening right now, and then help out if you can in whatever way, through whatever organization you feel is best for you. So again, thanks, Anthony, and let's roll back into what we like to talk about every single day. We have a special guest. How's it going?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. And apparently I've already butchered your name. So why don't you just go ahead and introduce yourself quickly?
My name is Keth Crotty, and I'm Client Services Director at ShareKnowledge, Inc.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So it is Keth, not Keith. Somebody didn't just forget to type an I when they sent me the email or anything like that.
I'll answer to anything remotely close, but it is Keth.
Keth. All right, we'll go there. It's good. That's good. Outstanding. So, so this is your first time joining us on TLDChat, I'm assuming.
It is. Yes, it is. So happy to be on board.
Yeah, fantastic. So, normally when I'm jumping in the green room with somebody that's new, I give them the rundown of how we roll with this kind of thing. But we can just do that live, because that's kind of part of what TLDChat is we like to be exceptionally informal. We are not your average everyday webinar or anything like that. We like to look at TLDChat as more of a daily opportunity for professional development for people in the training, learning, and development industry, and structure it more like what everybody enjoys about going to physical events. And that is sort of the hallway conversations that you have and the people that you meet. And so that's really what we're all about. It's just hanging out and chatting and talking shop. And we like to have guests who can drop in, and that helps focus our conversations a little bit. But the days that we don't have guests, we call it an open forum, and we just chat about whatever the topic of the day is. So so no sweat. Just we're gonna we might go off the rails a little bit. If you mention something really cool, we might just decide to go down that pathway, or we can stick close to home. So your product at ShareKnowledge, and and what you're currently doing. So why don't we just start with giving us a little bit of background? How did Keth get into this crazy industry? That's always what we all like to know.
Yeah, so ShareKnowledge is a learning management system built on SharePoint. And my background, if you go far enough back, is actually in IT. So I started my technical career. I live in the Seattle area, like most people did, at Microsoft, and did that for a little while. I was a Microsoft certified engineer, doing all the technical training and technical certifications and ongoing education. But the more I did it, the more I realized I was mostly sitting in like a back dark room with a bunch of servers and never interacted with any people. And so I really liked the concept of IT. I really liked talking about the technology, but sitting in the room by myself doing it wasn't exactly engaging. And so from there, I actually went into technical sales and did a stint in ERP, and eventually came across ShareKnowledge and started to chat with them for a while before jumping on board. And it's been a great company and a great ride so far. So for a little bit of background, ShareKnowledge is a learning management system, but it's built on that same Microsoft technologies that I was using at Microsoft in the beginning of my career.
Nice, nice, outstanding. So, how long have you been with ShareKnowledge?
It's been around 5 years now, 5-6 years. Yeah, it's been a while, and it seems like just like a year or two ago. And then I calculate the dates, and a lot of time's gone by here, but it's been a lot of fun the entire time.
Yeah, cool, cool. So what type of training were you familiar with when you were at Microsoft?
Well, I was doing a lot of the the 30-hour, 60-hour, 200-hour training programs, and then the continuing education that goes with every single certification. MCSE is actually defined by 6 or 7 different sub-certifications. So you have to get multiple individual certifications, and when you get enough of them, then you're a Microsoft certified engineer. I think at one point, they're all expired now. I don't keep any of them up, but at one point I had 17 technical certifications, and it's ongoing in IT. You need to stay up to date and keep those credentials up to date. So a lot of the formal technical training I was definitely part of. Microsoft, that was a long time ago too. We're talking 20 years ago or so. So
yeah,
Microsoft now has a lot of great training programs built more around the learning and development side as well. So beyond the technical aspect, how do you be a good manager? How do you not burn people out? How do you engage people? And at ShareKnowledge, we focus on both sides of the equation. The training that one of our clients would do needs to be specific to their organization. It needs to, we work with manufacturers and healthcare organizations and retail and everything in between. And so they develop their own training, or they source their own training, and they are using SharePoint, Microsoft SharePoint, to manage their training processes and collaboration and general training workflows.
So we like to geek out a little bit here on TLDChat every now and then. Normally we save geeking out on like media tech for Fridays. We call it Video Friday. But let's drop it down one level a little bit and just are we talking e-learning stuff all online, or is there classroom stuff? When you're talking about these types of training, the courses and stuff that you're delivering or whatnot, right? What's the modality we're talking about?
Yeah, I started in the world where kind of self-paced on-demand training was still done in books. And so there might have been a DVD or even a CD or 12 included with one of those books, because they didn't have DVDs yet.
I may have made one or two of those CDs for you back in the day.
Yeah, so they did have self-paced options for a lot of the training available, but I did both. Once you've gone through the process and once you know everything and you're moving from this is going to date me a little bit, but NT4 certification to a Windows 2000 certification, you can probably do it self-paced. But when I first got into the IT world, I actually was taking college courses and doing it in a very formalized instructor-led training format.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I ran into I knew a bunch of folks that were creating MCSE training and whatnot. And there's actually a company here in town in Phoenix called Stormwind that does a pretty decent uh, um, certification course for all sorts of stuff, Cisco and
Yeah.
everybody, and they do live stuff. But yeah, that's my only experience with that stuff. I never quite became an engineer or an MCSE. I guess I never really had the need, but yeah, it seems like a very long, drawn out process. Has it changed at all? Has it improved over the years, or what's the difference today than back when it was books and CDs?
Well, yeah, things have become much more streamlined, and for my company, if a client needs IT training, we have hundreds, if not thousands, of courses available, including certified Microsoft training, and so if they're looking for that self-paced type of format, it can run right through their network, right through their learning management system, and fully track and deliver all of that content. Now, to actually get the certification, they need to go to a third-party testing body, sit in front of a camera, show up with their ID, and actually get the certification. But
Yep.
all of the actual training can be delivered right through their network, and it can be part of their normal training pathway or process. And this would be very similar if a learning management system was using by a legal firm. All of their continuing education, all of their hours, all of that can be tracked through a very streamlined training environment as well. So it's not just IT, it's literally any kind of training that an organization might need now. And that saves a lot of time. Interesting enough, we're starting to see a little bit of a swing. And we also have relationships with those organizations that you're mentioning that do live classroom-based training, sometimes through webinar now, because
Yep.
obviously that's more efficient than flying everyone someplace.
Sure.
But they will do live classroom-based training on those same topics. So you might be having people brush up on leadership skills, but they can also be signed up for an instructor learning event by someone who's an expert, and will teach that topic for several hours. And you can even do private events that way, where you actually have those experts maybe work with your team for a week or more, teaching those skill sets.
Fantastic. So I haven't looked at SharePoint in a long time, but I know every once in a while it comes up in conversations. But I will say it doesn't often come up in conversations in a positive way. I know a lot of organizations have it and use it, but how do we put the positive spin on SharePoint these days?
Well, and I think SharePoint can do a lot of things, and that's its strength, where organizations that succeed with it actually kind of have an idea, a concept of why they're putting it into place and how they're going to use it. But the problem is SharePoint can be a website, it can be a collaboration tool, it can be a social network, it can be an LMS, it can be 100 other things. And in many of these organizations, they've never actually defined why it's there or what they're going to use it for. And SharePoint is really a bunch of tools. It's a bunch of prepackaged tools and capabilities. But in order to get the most out of it, you actually have to have a game plan and
You
go.
can't just turn it on and invite people. Why? What?
Yeah. And so there are certainly, here's the strength. You could certainly have some out of the box tools that were ready to run and super easy to use. But at the end of the day, you might end up implementing 20 of them and then have to integrate them all together. And SharePoint does it all. But that also means that you need to have someone at a technical level, a corporate strategy level, that says, this is what we're putting in place. These are the tool sets that we're going to turn on and make available and get them ready to rock and roll. And that makes a huge difference. Another common issue is governance, where you actually give everyone maybe too many capabilities in SharePoint. And so they have all these tools available and no one really knows how to do them. And guess what? They haven't been trained on them. And so you have everyone posting content and information all over the place, and 300 different libraries, and no one knows who's posting what or why and where it is. And so it, this kind of, I think, brings us to the collaboration side of the conversation, but it's really important to know when you're rolling out the rules that you're setting in place, the security, the permissions, and who are the experts, who are the users, and the people who are simply maybe contributing a little bit or consuming that knowledge, but who's actually in charge of it is a big deal.
Yeah, and it sounds like just like by the sheer nature of it, right? So a good implementation sounds to me like it's well thought out, right? There's an understanding of what you want the tool to use first. It's designed and created in a certain way to do just those things, right? Don't just turn on features for the sake of having those features. But then there's also, and this is something that I think we've all learned over the years, is that you can't just turn something on and give it to people, send an email and say, hey, this is on here, log in and get going. You have to have some sort of game plan, right? So there's probably some training that goes along with the implementation of something like a SharePoint, and especially because it's going to be so customized. You can't just say, hey, take the SharePoint training, because SharePoint, like you said, can be any number of things, and any number of those things could be mixed and matched. So, anybody's complete implementation is going to be completely unique. So there's going to be a lot of customized training involved, I would think, right? I mean,
and most companies, when they first roll out SharePoint, they do that. The problem is they did that in 2002, and things have grown and changed a lot. And the organization was 200 people when they rolled it out, and now they're 2,000. And no one thought about going back and updating that training and making sure that even the rules and the processes put in place back then were updated and are still current for what they need today. And so a lot of times it just keeps growing and growing and growing without ever anyone taking a look at it and saying, let's par this down a little bit. This is, it needs a little bit of weeding.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of administration or management or ownership or governance, like you said before, in how all that stuff gets done. I remember running into the same problem with SAP implementations, right? Basically, they had kind of the same issue, right? There was a quote unquote module for every department of a company, right? I was responsible for the warehouse management module at one point, and so moving product, planning and logistics and stuff like that, and that was it was a bear, I must say. It was not easy.
Yeah. So SharePoint, it definitely has some maybe ease of use issues that have come up in the past, but at the flip side, it's a technology that's probably used by 60 or 70% of organizations out there.
Right.
And whenever you have a technology that's deployed to that number of people, it's not the 1 out of 10 that just went out and said, hey, we really need this and we really want it. A lot of times they just kind of have it. And so that also drives some of those complaints as well, where if you were to look at it, the people who are actually going out with a technology strategy and saying, we've looked at what's out there, SharePoint fits our needs, and deployed it, they tend to be very successful. And it does a lot. And it's actually a really good tool if you put in the time and the effort to make it work. And that is important with any technology, because it's not going to, social comes up a lot. I have a background in social communities as well. And people always throw up a social network and internal to their network, and then they wonder why only 3 out of every 100 people are logging in and using it. And it's because they didn't really think about the strategy. They didn't figure out how to make it engaging. They didn't figure out the different layers that should be involved in that social network. And it's the same kind of thing with SharePoint. It has to meet the requirements of that organization to be successful.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the conversations that come up around it, and I see some alluding to it into the chat a little bit. It is a complicated system, but it's not the only one. There's plenty out there, and there's definitely strategies that we as training professionals can use to engage those employees, to get them connected to it. Do you have like an example or anything that you can speak to? I know a lot of enterprise stuff gets to be really confidential and you can't say who, and that's okay. we don't need names or anything, but like, what does a really good, successful implementation look like when you guys see it?
Yeah, well, and we're coming in and as kind of a niche solution. So we're working specifically in the training and development space, and SharePoint might be their customer portal. It might be their internal HR portal. It might be how every single team within that organization shares content with other team members. It might be how experts within that organization create, let's say, enterprise-wide content and distribute it to everyone and make it official. So it's a collaboration system. It's a document repository. It's a delivery mechanism, but it's also all the portal technology you might need to service different audiences. And one of the strengths is that ability to have it, broken down to individual and team levels. So it's very powerful in a hierarchical nature, so that very small team that's kind of in a remote area, they have all the features and collaboration tools they need, but then they're also part of a department, and that department is using the exact same tool set, and they're getting all that department information, and they're also collaborating with that department, and that department is collaborating with the region or the HR team or any legal, any other groups that need that cross collaboration capabilities. So it can do a lot, and it has a tremendous amount of customization. And that's usually what we see when we come in to help an organization maybe streamline training. They may or may not even have SharePoint rolled out already, but the ones who are specifically looking at us and calling us and saying, hey, we need you, they've already are using it from a document repository and collaboration type functionality, maybe a portal type functionality. And we're just coming in to and kind of make the training processes easy.
Yeah, it's again, I was going to say it's to be able to do that is difficult. I know in a lot of really large organizations, when I was at Litmus, we would have a lot of folks trying to avoid, mostly organizations. We called them sort of rogue divisions of large companies that didn't want to mess with how complicated all of the centralized big systems had gotten, and that all they wanted to do, they had one targeted bit of training content they needed, and they needed to manage it somehow. So they just needed something that they could send out to either their sales channel or customer base or something like that, right? And they would go with something super easy. Yeah, shadow IT, I think is what they call it now. And so, Litmus fell into that shadow IT world quite a bit as a solution that would get ramped up. We saw that happening a lot. Do you guys see that and have to interact with that at all?
Yeah, we do actually. And this is interesting because we work with some Fortune 100 organizations out there. We work with small businesses too, but there's some major organizations out there. Unfortunately, they might not be using ShareKnowledge for, all 250,000 employees they have. They might be using it for a division or a department or a group. And that group could be 100 people or 3,000 people, but for that organization, it's only a small piece of the overall kind of pie. And I think the shadow IT comment from Kim was very applicable, where we'd have the conversations, and they actually would like us because a lot of times they knew that they wouldn't be allowed to purchase another learning management system. They have SAP, they have Oracle, and it will get turned down at the HR decision-making level because they already have one. Yet when they go to the HR team and say, we want to use this LMS to do our department level training, they're not allowed. They're not given the permissions or the capabilities they need. So we would actually
backed up, and they don't have enough resources to help every single department. So it's like, okay, we'll put you into the queue, and maybe 8 months from now we can get to you because we just don't have the resources. And it's like, but wait, we're launching our product in 2 weeks, and we need to get some training out to the customers, to the sales team, to everyone else. And so then they're like, forget it, and then they just go rogue.
Yeah, it gets lost in this approval process scenario, and then it will probably never move forward. We would actually be able to step forward, and we have both a cloud solution and an on-premise SharePoint solution. But either way, we could just stand up an instance and call it a SharePoint plugin or a SharePoint add-on, and not even use the word learning management system, nothing that would set off red flags. And they would actually be able to source it either as an LMS or as a technology plugin to a technology that the company already spent tens and tens of thousands of dollars on, and actually made their SharePoint much easier to use and much more user friendly. And by being able to slide in under that approval process, it makes a big difference in helping those customers get what they need quickly. And yeah, that we usually see that with enterprise type organizations that already have spent $2 million on their current learning management system, and no one wants to admit it's not working, but a department needs something else. And so we'll come in with a solution for them.
Yeah, you may not be the one to answer this particular question, but maybe Mike had a question, and we had it tossed into the Q&A section. And he asks, has SharePoint continued to improve integration with other Microsoft products like Power BI?
Yeah, so actually Power BI and SharePoint are really powerful interfaces now, where you can have data in SharePoint, and there's a lot of metrics and metadata and different things that can take place in SharePoint, and it's customizable. You can now connect to it with Power BI and extract that data into reporting tools and customize graphs and everything that you need. The newer versions, I would say 2013, SharePoint 2013 and SharePoint 2016, as well as SharePoint Online, which is part of the Office 365 suite, they have much better ease of use, deployment, and reporting capabilities than older versions. And from a training development standpoint, we actually don't even want to have to deal with any of that. So we have prepackaged all of the metrics and reporting and all of those types of workflows already when we work with a client.
Cool, very cool. Well, and Mark asks another good question too. So since you guys are really connected in that Microsoft world and already getting your data through SharePoint and whatnot, do you guys have any sort of XAPI play integrated at all as well, or are you not playing in that yet?
Yeah, we just started to dabble in the XAPI world, and we started at it from a feature standpoint, where we actually went to our client base and said, which of these capabilities from XAPI are the most important to you? And most of it actually came from the data tracking and logging capabilities, not the ability to actually reformat your content from AICC or SCORM into Tin Can or XAPI. And so we started with the data tracking and the ability to track externally completed trainings, things that you're not doing within the company network or within the company LMS, but you want them to be tracked and logged within the training platform very easily, maybe with an approval process. And we added a lot of that capability right away, and we're continuing to expand it as we go.
Nice. Yeah, it's very cool. There's everybody. I think it definitely XAPI is growing, rapidly, and a lot of people are engaging with it. So it's always it's always a good question. Anthony, who was just on here with American Red Cross, is very deeply embedded into that whole XAPI world. So he'll be happy to know that it continues to grow, right, Anthony? Yeah. Yes, you've heard of it. It's all good. All right, so we're approaching about 10 minutes left before the top of the hour, and I just want to give everybody a chance to maybe drop a final question or two for Keth in the chat before he goes. But and I also wanted to just make sure, Anthony, if there was any sort of wrap up, you wanted me to save a couple minutes for you to talk about American Red Cross and the activities going on to assist with the Harvey cleanup, I guess, whatever they're going to call it. Drop something into the chat as well for me. So let's see. And while you guys are dropping that in, Keth, why don't you tell us a little bit about where people can find you? What's the website, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, ShareKnowledge.com, all one word. And I saw a couple of questions here about SharePoint experts and anything along those lines. If you want to pick our brain, you can email us there, fill out one of our forms. We can certainly help match you to one of our SharePoint partners, or get you some resources that might help you out. But appreciate everyone joining in.
Yeah, for sure. It's great to have you. I think it's a great conversation. Like I said, it's fun for once to have sort of a positive spin on SharePoint and have that conversation, right? Then I'm sure you hear it all the time. You know, the frustrations around it, but it's nice to hear people, because it's there, you got to use it.
Yeah, and there are companies out there, whether everyone loves it or not, they're using it, and it's there. It's like you said, SAP or Oracle or any other technology. You know, sometimes you use what you got, and the goal that we have is to actually make it easy and functional, and do that as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I've often said that that's step one for any training department or L&D organization is, you know, instead of going out right away and trying to buy something new, you got to look at what's in-house already, right? And just do what's right for the business. And it's like, okay, what do we have and what can we work with and what can we do with what we've got, right? And then kind of start from there and then figure out where you want to be and then figure out, you know, is all the stuff that you currently have going to get you there, right? And then you need to kind of figure out how to roll into either starting those processes to see if there's any way you can change it, or if you want to add new functionality into an existing system that already exists in the business, but you can't really get there until you know where you are and what's there. So it's good stuff to know.
I know we're running out of time, but just from one of our customers, this gives a good example of SharePoint usage. And they might have 20 or 30 formal trainings that they run through their LMS, but they had 1,600 SOPs managed in SharePoint. And so there's workflows, there's collaboration, there's version control. All of that is going on within SharePoint. So by putting the LMS within SharePoint, they're able to assign and manage, track, and report on everything without having to do version control between two different systems. And so, you know, when you have SharePoint in place, and whether you're forced to use it or whether you like it, sometimes it just makes sense doing everything in a single system.
Yeah, for sure. That's always what it comes down to. Well, again, Keth, thanks so much for hanging out with us. This was fun, and I appreciate you taking some time and sharing what you guys do at ShareKnowledge and answering the questions in the chat room and just being a part of TLDChat. Yeah,
thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yeah. So I'm going to close your video window out, but you're still going to be in the Crowdcast room, and so you can still chat with everybody if anybody has some questions and whatnot. But and then I'm gonna close out the TLDChat for today. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man. Take care. Hey, everybody. That was Keth Crotty from ShareKnowledge, and we appreciate him taking some time and sharing that information about SharePoint and an LMS that gets built into it. So. I noticed a lot of folks wanting to reach out and find some SharePoint experts. If you're in that space, if your company uses SharePoint, you know, feel free to reach out in the Facebook group, and you can, you know, connect with folks there about it. If you need more in-depth information and more focus on getting connected with the right people, it can happen there. But again, don't forget to click become a member and consider being a member of TLDChat and supporting the work that we're doing here and helping us you know, build the TLDC community and you know, help us offer more to you in the future. We've already got a fantastic model set up where the value is coming through. TLDChat will always be free. So just so everybody understands that piece of it. But we have a lot of other maybe hidden or not so hidden benefits for being a part of this organization. And you can hit that up on the website, tldc.us, and get more information about that, and find out more about what we do here at TLDC. And I'm just going to pop this back up again just as we close out. So, do we need Anthony to come back in and show us some puppies? Is that it? Should we close the day out with This Week in Puppies with Anthony Altieri? Yeah, maybe that is a good way to close out the show, huh? We've still got a few minutes, but it's fun to see so many of you supporting Anthony and considering helping out and engaging Deborah. It's fun to see you here and connecting with us here at TLDC and getting connected with Anthony and helping out. Thank you so much. It's always fantastic. We've got a good crew here today. If any of you besides Keth were brand new to TLDC, please reach out to myself or to Luis or anybody in the chat, to be honest, and get engaged and help network, do some professional development for yourself, and commit to being a part of it. And well, we're going to have to give this full focus, because how can we not? Oh wait, show the doggy again. You weren't full screen before. Here we go.
You could go look over there.
And yes, Joe, I'm getting to your email. I promise. I'm not ignoring you. I'm absolutely getting that taken care of. You and I will connect. All right. So this is Deidre.
This is Dee Dee.
Dee looks very tired.
It's Deidre when I'm pissed off at her.
Ah.
Hey, no, those are my glasses.
How old is she?
She's born March 3rd, so about 17, 18 weeks.
Wow. 17, 18 weeks. Wow. And she's a rescue?
It was from a pet store.
Oh,
but
from the pet store. That's right. Yeah.
I couldn't leave her there.
No, you certainly couldn't. She's just adorable.
And she's
the chilling puppy. So cute. Well, hey, you know what? How can we, how do we top like puppy day? So maybe what we're going to have to do is start an end of show, the puppy minute. So everybody bring your dogs to the next TLD chat, and I'll invite everybody, or as many of you as I can, and we'll do the puppy minute or something like that, and we can share puppies. Or cats, if you're a cat person. Yes, I don't discriminate between the pets. But anyways, hey Anthony, tell us real quickly. Let's wrap up on a bright note with what's going on with well, I mean, how it can't get much brighter than the puppy, but
yeah.
So what can people do? Obviously, people can reach out to you. You've added your email and whatnot, and American Red Cross is doing some fantastic things for the people affected by Harvey. You're not able to go, but we want to try to encourage everybody from TLDChat, if you have some time, to sign up, get connected, and go geek out with some other Red Cross folks, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, it's you don't have to be a system administrator or programmer or anything like that. We need people who understand. Sorry. We need folks who can work in customer service, supporting technology, supporting cell phones, computers, etc. It's not an incredibly difficult thing, but it does require some skills, knowing how computers work at a basic level, really. You can email me. Again, you can donate. Blood and blood products are always in need, especially in cases like this where we're gonna have some injuries. So definitely, you can call. You can go to www.redcross.org. You can call 1-800 Red Cross, or 1-800-GIVE-LIFE.
Yeah.
And they can definitely help you out.
Yeah, there's an organization here in the Phoenix area. I think maybe they're in Tempe. I can't remember now, but the United Blood Services, they're a good place to donate as well. I think they just call themselves Blood Services now. It's not, but I think they're connected somehow to the Red Cross. I don't can't remember how, but. Anyways, yeah, all good stuff. So yeah, so helping out comes in many different forms. But if you're interested in applying your technical skills, and again, you don't need to be a system administrator. You don't have to have the MCSE. You don't, as long as you know how computers work and you can make them do things, and you can, be an extra set of hands and help people, reset and at least be able to talk to somebody who can talk you through doing stuff. It sounds like they just need as many extra hands with some basic skills and knowledge around computers as possible to help out, and when these types of things happen. So please consider doing that. And with that, I'll say thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with us on TLDChat. Goodbye, Dee. Goodbye, Anthony. All good stuff. Thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with us on TLDChat. Another fantastic TLDChat is in the can. Thanks so much for hanging out. You guys are great, and we will see you next time.